And also, lots of these customers which are in the shadow economy as well as in this 86% really don't appear. They are below the radar somewhere. Now you need to find them. And therefore, the challenge for a company like HCL or a challenge for any global company is how do you find these people? How do you get to them? What are the issues that you need to get to? So let's look at what is needed. Well, challenge number one is that markets and cultures are demanding. Very, very demanding. And therefore, you need to look at different cultures, you need to look at very different environments, you need to look at completely different price performance targets. For example, I'll try and sort of weave some references to some of these points as well, although I'll come to it later, but I'll like to talk about some of these. There are demanding price performance targets. Now, about 6-7 years ago, then when we were trying to grow our Nokia business, I made this crazy demand to Nokia. Those days, prices of Nokia phones were 16,000 rupees. And I made this crazy demand to Nokia. I said, I want a product at 9,900. Because I said, you got to cross this barrier of 10,000 rupees. So they were pretty shocked. They said, how can we reduce prices from 16,000 to 9,900? I said, you want to crack the market, you got to do something. So in about 8 weeks, they came back and very reluctantly agreed 9,900. And whatever numbers we had committed, we did twice the numbers we actually committed to them. So then about a couple of weeks later, all of them had a great party for us and said, what next? So he said, I said, my next target is 6,600. So they said, how many numbers will you do? So I said, this is the number I will do. And then when we actually did those, we actually did 2.5 times that. So fundamental point is that when you actually hit the right price performance point in such countries, the numbers become completely amazing. And this is something that when somebody is sitting in America or somebody is sitting in Europe, they just fail to understand this. And whenever they fail to understand, they are unsuccessful. And there are many cases, I'm sure, Professor Jaju will talk about the failures of people who have actually gone through some mistakes of this nature. But this is very important to understand. And therefore, you need to look at breakthroughs in terms of products and service offerings. Now, the other issue is that this is the second challenge. There are very high rates of emigration. So opportunity is that, you got to look at issue number 2 quite seriously. There are social networks and a whole bunch of issues like that. You need to understand that there are very important connects of this nature. And, lots and lots of people have understood through the NRI type programs. So that's another challenge number 2. The third challenge, which is pretty difficult in countries like ours, is the markets are really fragmented. Huge country, huge population, different cultures, different locations, tough to reach a whole bunch of people, and hence there's this huge fragmentation that takes place. When we started with Nokia, 90% of the market in the country was gray. Illegal gray. When we looked at PCs about 7-8 years ago, 65% of the market was gray. That means the 65% was being sold by tens of thousands of people, from garage shops. So it's very, very crazy situation of fragmented markets. And if you don't somehow look at that deeply, you won't be able to get to those customers. So you need to look at those fragmented markets. The other issue is, this is not something unknown, very, very young populations in all these countries, and therefore you need to look at products and strategies and marketing strategies to attract the young people. And therefore there is this youthful and growing population out there. And however, However, it all comes with limited income and space.